news. Preach here, Dr. Young. How do I know God is getting ready to bless me? People that used to pray for you will start praying against you. How do I know that it's my time? People that were walking with you will walk away from you. How would I know that it's my time? The stuff that you used to take, now you can't take it no more. My God, look at your neighbor and say, neighbor, it is my time.
To quote a gentleman that I follow on TikTok, stupid shit that I used to believe as a Christian. Today, that video reminded me of what I now would call oppression preaching. Because that is the type of preaching that you can only do to people who are oppressed in order to make them stay and remain oppressed and remain happy in their oppression. Because if you listen to the idea of this message, that if you are going through something, if it seems like Murphy's Law, which Murphy's Law is actually anything that can happen will happen, but we have turned it into anything bad that can happen, then it will happen. Anything negative can happen, it will happen. So although when you find yourself in a situation where it seems like every time you turn around there's a problem, every time you do something in life, every time you try to make yourself better, every time you think you're getting a little bit of ahead, here comes all the turmoil. And no matter what you're doing, if you're living in a situation where you're being harassed by the police, if you're living in an impoverished neighborhood, if you seem to be always, the job closes down, or the job, they do have layoffs, and you always are the ones in that layoff, when it always seems like life is spitting in your face more often than it wipes it off. That type of preaching, that is Satan trying to interfere with the blessing that God has for you. So it keeps you in a mindset of being happy in your misery. It keeps you happy in the misery of your spouse leaving you. It keeps you in the happiness of the misery of being poor. It keeps you happy in the misery of being downtrodden. Because this pastor is telling you that the only reason you're going through that is not because of the politics, not because of the racism, not because of sexism, not because of bad economics. It's not because of any of those things, not because of the bad decisions that you keep on making, which is the main reason why you keep going through it, is the bad decisions that you keep on making. That's not the cause of it. It's the devil, because you about to get a blessing. God is about to do something for you. And God is always about to. About to. I always had a problem with that "about to." You see, if God's about to do something, that means he's not doing it. You see, if you're married to someone and they're always telling you that I'm about to be the best husband that you could possibly have. I'm about to be the best wife you could possibly have. I'm about to change our finances. I'm about to change our love life. I'm about to change whatever it is. Well, you ain't ever gonna do it. So I've always had a problem with that "about to," because that means you are never engaging in the process of actually doing it. That you are maintaining a situation where you're going to be in lack. And you're God. How much struggle do you have to go through in order for this God to recognize how much faith you have? And when you look at the Bible in itself, how much struggle did Abraham go through before he received from this God? I mean, he constantly received from Pharaoh when he pimped out Sarah. He received from Amalek when he pimped out Sarah. He received when he conquered those kings and and took all their possessions when he went to go save Lot. He constantly received. He received the first son by Ishmael, named Ishmael, because his wife gave him her slave to have a baby. And then he received the son. He kept on receiving. Isaac kept receiving. Jacob, a lying trickster, kept receiving. All your patriarchs in the Bible just kept on receiving. Jacob receiving, Judah receiving, Boaz receiving. Everybody's receiving in your Bible. But yet you sit by and you're not receiving anything. And that's because the devil, it knows that you about to receive something, so he's trying to get in your way. But isn't it interesting that all the patriarchs kept receiving, and the devil never got in their way? And if the devil did somehow, like in the story of Job, was allowed to get in the way by this God, because the devil can only get in the way if this God gives the devil permission, he receives 7 times the amount that he lost. Peter barely believed, didn't believe, and he received the bounty of fish. So many fish he had to call the other boats in. They received it. When the disciples wanted to send the people home, they said it'll take us 30 days of work to feed these 6,000 people. And that was just counting the men. That's not even counting the women and children. What group of 13 people do you know can work for just 30 days and feed somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,000 to 8,000 people? I know I ain't one of them. And I make a decent living. So that type of messaging, that type of preaching, which is very prominent in the black church, is one of the things that is holding people down in the black church. Your economics are low because of the decisions that you make, and your lack of ability of investing, and your lack of ability of being able to make yourself more marketable in society, and your lack of budgeting, and that's why your finances are low. There are some societal things that are in play as well, but for the most part, it's on you. Your relationship is lacking because of how you treat yourself and treat your spouse. That's why your relationships are lacking. Or you just, as this one lady said to me one long time ago, your picker ain't right. You just can't pick them right. So you lacking in some of your discernment. Your children going through whatever they're going through because you lacking in some parental skills. You see what I'm saying? That's where you're lacking. You're lacking in some mental maturity. You're lacking in some education. That's why you are struggling so much. That's why you're going through what you went through. The decisions you've made in the past are the causations that created the effects of your life right now. That's why you're lacking. And if your God, if the true God was going to do anything about it, then that would be you. That's you have to do something about it. You have to figure out what causations can I implement in my life that's going to give me the results to which I desire. You know, if I want more love in my life, then let me be a more loving person to my spouse in the way that they receive love. And if I pick the right person and we have that conversation and we can communicate and have understanding for one another, then we can communicate that towards one another, and they will respond in kind. Let me budget my money better. Let me make myself more marketable. Let me eat better. Let me exercise. You are the God that creates the causations in your life. So therefore, you are the one that is still about to. And guess what? You also the devil in your life. You also the devil. You also the one that's making all the opposite decisions, doing the opposite things, that's creating all the havoc in your life. You going through struggles because of you, not because of the devil. You also can be blessed because of you, not because of some God. And I'm pretty damn sure after that sermon, he told those people, if you want to see God's blessing, put some of that money in that plate. You want to see some blessings? Put some of that money in the S&P over the next 20, 30 years and see what happens. But always remember, you got to free yourself to be yourself, because your greatness is non-negotiable. Good journey, good vibrations.